To create Android mobile apps with Quasar, we need to install Android Studio. And in a nutshell, Quasar will generate the code for our app, and Android Studio provides the tools to build that code and get it running on our phone. So let's get started. We're going to jump into developer.android.com/studio. Let's click on Download Android Studio Koala, which is really cool because I'm from Australia. So I feel like this version of Android Studio was made for me. We'll scroll down to the bottom, click on I have read and agree, and then click on download. Now, I already downloaded this because it takes a little bit of time. And when it's done, you can go ahead and open that file. Now we have a classic Windows install with a bunch of next buttons. If you want to save space, you can untick Android Virtual Device. This basically installs an entire Android device on your computer. So if you don't have an Android phone, you might want to tick this option because then at least you can test it within your computer. But there are a lot of limitations, like using Bluetooth isn't going to work when you use a virtual device. So I'm going to leave that unticked so that things run a bit faster and click on Next, Next, Install, and wait for that to finish up. That's completed. Next, and we can click on Finish and Start Android Studio. Okay, no, I don't want you to send statistics, and we now have Android Studio up and running. Now let's jump back into Visual Studio Code and write the command to run this app. Hey Quasar, I want to develop an app, set the mode equal to Capacitor, and set the target with a capital T equal to Android. Now, this is a little bit much to write, so we're actually going to copy this, Control-Shift-C, close that out, and jump into our package.json so that we can create a script that is essentially a shortcut to that command. So after dev inside of script here, let's say dev:\Android. So when we run dev:\Android with yarn, let's go ahead and run the Quasar dev capacitor mode for Android command. All right, let's see if that works. Opening up our console again, yarn space dev:\Android. And it works. So since this is our first time, it's going to ask us a few questions. What is the capacitor app ID? And this is basically going to be a reverse ID of your website URL. So I'll give you an example of that. If our website is app.mysite.com, then the reverse of that would be com.mysite.app. So basically we're going from right to left. Okay, so let's copy this. And we're going to set the capacitor app ID to com.mysite.app. You can do whatever you like there. And this is one of the parts I love. Quasar is now getting to work installing all the dependencies we need to work with Capacitor. It's setting everything up for us. And there we go. Now it's opened up Android Studio with our project. And I'm going to say don't ask again and tell it to open up inside this window. So if Android Studio is already running, it's just going to open it up in that window. Yes, I trust this project, and I'm going to tick here and say trust project. Let's full screen this. And notice that we get this little pop-up about Microsoft Defender configuration. I'm going to select automatically there so that everything runs a little bit faster. I'm not entirely sure why this needs to happen, but Android Studio seems to think it's necessary. And you might need to wait a while for some things down in the bottom right here to finish building. So you might see some stuff related to Gradle. When all of that's done, you're ready to launch your app. And this play button is going to go green like it is now for me. However, I currently have no devices to run it on, so I'm going to go ahead and plug my phone in. And to get our phone to show up here, we need to follow some instructions to get our phone into dev mode. I'll show you where those instructions are rather than going through it in this video, just because it varies a little bit from device to device. It's in developer.android.com/studio/debug/dev-options. Of course, this link is going to be attached to this video. And if this URL is out of date, then this is something that you should be able to Google. So you'll want to follow the instructions here for Enable Developer Options, and you'll also want to follow the Enable USB Debugging on your device section as well. This is what allows Android Studio to then communicate with your phone. So it's important that you follow this section as well. Okay, so I've already done that. And you might also need to restart Android Studio. Mine isn't showing up, so let's try closing this out, shutting down the server, and then running it again. All right, there's the phone. It's selected. All of the build steps have completed in the bottom right corner here. That's why nothing is showing up. So I should be able to press the play button. We can see here Gradle build is running, so it's working. And when that's done, it's then going to send the file for our app over to our phone. And once the app is running, we don't need to install it again every single time we make a change. We'll be able to make changes to our app and they'll appear in real time on our phone. It's really, really cool. Okay, I'm going to press OK here to uninstall the current version of the app. You may or may not get that window. And it's working. The app is now showing up on my phone. Let's jump over to Chrome. And I'm going to type in here Chrome inspect, and our device shows up in the list here. So let's click inspect there. And now we can work on our app just like it were a website. However, we have access to all of the hardware in the app as well. So we can do stuff with Bluetooth, we can do stuff with the camera, we can do stuff with the GPS. All of that is now immediately available to us. It's super, super cool. We get to develop a mobile app with all of the tools we're used to, like console logging, or the network tab, or browsing through the elements. It really does feel like building a normal website. And in a way, it kind of is like building a normal website that runs as an app on your phone. I love that Quasar helps us do this. So now that this is all set up, let's just go through the process as if you were about to sit at your computer and start developing. So I'm going to close that out, close out Android Studio. Let me just close the app first and jump into Visual Studio Code. Now imagine we've just sat down, we're about to start developing our mobile app. Here's what we do. Yarn, dev, Android. Now that everything's set up, this is running much, much faster for me. Android Studio launches. We make sure our device is selected, click on play. And while that's going, I'm going to jump back into Chrome, going to inspect, and then wait for our device to show up in the list here. And there it is. So we click on inspect, and we're ready to start developing. So let me just come back in here, maybe whack that on the right side of the screen, create a bit more space here, and we'll jump into our index page. Control P, index page, change the color of our button to blue and save it. And notice that it shows up straight away. This is so cool. It's so insanely cool to be able to just change this stuff and see it happening in real time on my phone. So it shows up here. It shows up on the phone that is sitting on my desk right now. I can click on something on the phone on my desk and it shows up inside of my browser window here. Or we can click on something in our browser window and it shows up on the phone on my desk. Everything is in sync and it's a wonderful, wonderful developer experience for building mobile apps. I think you're going to absolutely love it. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one where we'll dive into something else.